Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, this is great. Brilliant news, everyone. It's all been solved. We can put the case to rest. MotorTrend have discovered that the batteries are 100 kilowatt hours for the Plaid. According to them, even 4 kilowatt hours less than the performance version. Therefore, everything I've been saying is wrong, as I thought the Plaid would have been 120 kilowatt hours. Well, to me, that is what all the numbers aligned looked most likely. That judging by the Plaid's weight, it was likely using an 120 kilowatt hour battery. But apparently not. Oh wait, no, it wasn't just the weight of the battery pack, but also this outstanding impressive performance, with much higher top speed and horsepower, and most likely range too, as that can be suppressed with software. In fact, if you do go by the current range we are told, then you might be convinced into thinking 100 kilowatt hours is probably the battery size of the Plaid. And the fact that MotorTrend went into so much detail and talked about the exact size of the P100D battery too, and it being 104 kilowatt hours, in other words, saying the Plaid is slightly smaller battery, and then in some way also indicating that attributes for some of the weight saving too, well, that's a very small difference in battery size and would have a very small effect on difference in weight. But okay then, Tesla have done something to their battery that supposedly now is the same weight and about the same size in kilowatt hours, yet now is capable of 1024 horsepower, 246 more horsepower than the previous performance version, 31% more horsepower than before, with the same size battery, and even getting slightly more range. That seems to be what we're being told from MotorTrend. If this is the case, then my theory about Tesla suppressing range would therefore prove to be incorrect. But what it does give us is one more coordinate to plot. We've pretty much created a formula now based on all the analysis of all the figures we have. However, we're still dealing with a few variables. Using these variables so far, we've managed to discover some discrepancies in figures. Now, when we're given actual raw data, like MotorTrend's 100 kilowatt hour battery estimate, then we can simply add 100 kilowatt hours to our variable of battery size. That will then give us other figures that have to match up. Anyway, long story short, this new battery pack is around 1,350 pounds in the Plaid. People are too focused on the Plaid and ignoring the long range. We've been given a lot of long range specifications, which have also plotted more coordinates on the chart and are part of our formula. Now, as I keep mentioning, the long range battery is 240 pounds lighter than the Plaid battery pack, i.e. around 1,140 pounds. The Plaid battery pack weighs 21% more. Now, if we ignore the fact it looks like Plaid is using a different battery chemistry and is likely getting a higher kilowatt hour per pound, or watts per kg as it's better known, so ignore that high probability for now, and we get 82 kilowatt hour battery. In other words, the Plaid weighs 21% more than the long range. If the long range had an 82 kilowatt hour battery, then 21% more kilowatt hours would be 100 kilowatt hours, which is what the Plaid has, as we're being told by MotorTrend. Now, as it looks so likely that there is a different chemistry in the Plaid also, compared to the long range, then this would make it closer to 70 to 75 kilowatt hours estimated for the long range. Depending on the chemistry, we have a difference of 20 to 30 kilowatt hours between the long range and the Plaid batteries. So if MotorTrend are correct in their assessment, then we're dealing with a long-range Model S capable of doing 405 miles range on just a 70 to 80 kilowatt hour battery. To give you an idea, the Model 3 long range has an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack and gets 353 miles of range. Oh, and it's also over 300 pounds lighter and is using 2170 batteries. The Model Y is closer in weight, only 150 pounds lighter, and with an 82 kilowatt hour battery, only manages to get 326 miles of range. Yet we have this battery, likely under 80 kilowatt hours, managing to get over 400 miles of range. Yet while also achieving a better 0 to 60 time and top speed in a much heavier car. So that's comparing the new Model S long range and the other Teslas of similar battery size, at least according to MotorTrend. It sounds like Tesla are getting about 30% more range per kilowatt hour, according to MotorTrend, which would mean a change as significant as that would have to mean 4680s are being used. But compare the Model S long range to the Model 3 performance. If Model S only had an 82 kWh battery, the same size as the Model 3 performance, and they both go 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, except of course the Model 3 performance weighs 300 pounds less. Oh, and of course it gets only 315 miles compared to 405 miles of range. This is not a likely scenario. Both battery packs must be bigger. But okay, let's also compare it with the previous long range. That, as we're now told, actually had 104 kWh battery pack, compared to the new long range that MotorTrend are now leading us to assume an 80 kWh battery pack, 23 less kilowatt hours being used, yet getting the same range and much higher top speed, horsepower and 0 to 60 time. All that extra performance with 20% less battery. Wow, outstanding. That is amazing. But to achieve that, it must be 4680 batteries. You see, this is what I mean. We don't need many figures until we can quickly connect the dots, and the range for the Plaid looks like it's been totally suppressed by software. I expect it to get a range upgrade later. Anyway, the problem is, I suspect, that this MotorTrend figure is most likely not true, and I don't think the Tesla battery pack is only 80 kilowatt hours for the long range, generating over 400 miles. But my point is that either way, Tesla would have to be achieving these numbers with 4680 technology, as it's simply such a leap or step change in performance. This is not some clever tweak to the 18650 over 6 months. Because of the weight difference between the Plaid and the long range, this makes such a discrepancy in battery size, it will be hard for anyone to suggest such a small sized battery for the Plaid. Hence why I think it is likely up around 120 kilowatt hour battery for the Plaid. But that likely still leaves the long range at around 90 kilowatt hour battery, which is still 10% smaller battery than the previous long range, capable of the same range. But again, all that additional performance too. I don't even think the performance was necessary in the long range. The car was not being tuned for performance, but it was unavoidable with whatever these new batteries are. The performance is unavoidable, hence the same range from the previous long range version, but with less performance. Remember, the previous long range and performance had the same size battery packs, yet only a difference of 15 miles range. Now, if the Plaid has a battery pack 20 to 30 kilowatt hours larger than the long range, then going by all the numbers we have, then we expect the Plaid to have a significantly longer range than the long range. Yes, it has less, implying Tesla are holding back the range of the Plaid. It doesn't really add up otherwise. You see, I don't think that any figures can dispute what I've discovered. All they do is help further show how outstanding the new battery pack is just by plotting a few other coordinates on the map. The numbers already don't add up. We just need some more numbers to demonstrate. This was a scenario as to what the rest of the specifications of the Model S's would be if the Plaid had a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and what that information means. And what I'm saying stands out the most is that the Model S long range would only be around 75 kilowatt hours, yet be capable of incredible range or performance, capable of more than what a 100 kilowatt hour battery was doing 6 months ago, only with 75 kilowatt hours. There is no hiding from these numbers. Any more information we get, we can just plot with the previous numbers we have and base rough estimates as to what it means. But in my opinion, this is a huge jump in performance, and I don't at all believe they could have done it with some simple changes to the 18650 batteries. This is a step change technology, aka 4680s. As we get more and more information, then we shall be able to further identify the statistics of these battery packs relative to others. Look at how incredible these cars are. This is a gigantic leap from the previous Model S's. We've never seen this sort of leap before, and in such a short period. It is not a huge coincidence that it's the same period the 4680s are about ready, and that they make them just down the road. Is this not the best way to show off your new batteries in the fastest car in the world? People ask, why not tell everyone about the 4680s? Well, why tell anyone? They have sales backed up for months. They don't need their competition to know. Tesla don't care if the stockholders know. They don't need the government to know to find ways to help the competition. They don't need the oil companies to know for whatever pressure they can apply. They don't want the competition to work out just how far ahead Tesla are with their batteries. It doesn't help. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.